What's up, guys? Welcome back to Arch City Poker. Nick here with a hand history review video. I make it 15 under the gun in a 1-3 game. My loose and I would say kind of bad aggressive opponent in the cutoff decides to call. I've seen him. I've only played with him for about an hour and a half, but I have seen a few spots, smaller spots, albeit, but some spots where he's been capable of showing some bluffs or getting caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and he's had to fold his hand to some raises when I thought it was pretty clear he didn't have value. So, yeah, kind of a interesting dynamic. You don't get a ton of these guys. Like I said, you get some, but not as often in the 1-3 games. So, ace high flop, I decide to check. A lot of you would just c-bet here. I check because my opponent will tell me a lot about where he's at within his range, whether he bets, whether he doesn't bet here. If he does bet, what sizing does he use? He checks back. That tells us he very likely is pretty capped. He doesn't have two pairs or better. He probably bets a lot of his ace-x and a lot of his flush draws as well. So go to the turn, jack of clubs. This is where a lot of you now would bet. It's not a bad spot for it. And I think if you were going for bluff, you could go bet barrel. If you're going for value, you could go with a bigger bet here and then follow up on the river. But sixes have a good bit of showdown value. And my opponent, again, he makes the mistake, makes more mistakes in the form of aggression instead of passiveness or calling. So I'm going to allow him the opportunity to do that. He decides to go ahead and put in 20. If I had air here, or if I had a hand that I thought didn't have showdown value, guys, any kind of draw, even air, like I said, I would go ahead and check raise a lot here. I actually take advantage of this spot quite a bit. The population just doesn't know how to adjust to it. But this hand has showdown value, and he might actually, and I'm getting him to put money in here with the parts of his range that probably wouldn't call a bet if I bet here. So a lot of good stuff happening, and he may even, well, hopefully he checks back river on a lot of them, but he might even put money in with more bluffs on the river. We have an opportunity to maybe bluff catch with the sixes, but we do go ahead and call. Queen of diamonds on the river. A lot of you'd say that's a scary card. Brings in front door flush, brings in a couple different straights. That is true. He could even have a hand like queen jack. Maybe he has like queen eight suited. I check. He decides to go ahead and bet 30. And again, guys, read into their sizing. That's kind of the lesson here. I think he would just go for more value, just with a larger sizing here with straights or better. So now I don't think my sixes have showdown value, though. I don't think players bluff for, I don't think this is a bluff as often on this kind of like dynamic changing river. I think it is like a lot of maybe like ace five that check back. It could be a hand like queen jack. He could just be betting like king queen for some reason, queen 10. But what I do know is calling is probably the worst option here. Folding is a reasonable thought, but I think we can do a lot better and go for check raise. His sizing, again, is just typically in a live low stakes game very unbalanced towards hands that are quite capped. They're just not straights or better. And so I think it's a really good spot to go for check raise. He does think about it for about 10 seconds and decides to fold. So if you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.